In this model, we're looking at the shoulder and axilla. If I put this model in anatomical position, I've got the proximal end here, the distal end here. This is going to be lateral. Turn this around. This is going to be medial, our anterior surface. Let's first go through and identify our major muscles and landmarks, and then we'll talk about them more specifically. What we have here, which is missing, is trapezius. This large shoulder muscle is deltoid. We turn this around, we can see part of pectoralis major here coming off the clavicle. Let's turn this around a little bit. This is the subscapularis. Below here we have teres major, this muscle, and we wouldn't ask it here, but just for reference, that is Latissimus Dorsi. Let's turn this around again. If we remove deltoid below it, we see above the spine, can we see this here? Above the spine of the scapula is supraspinatus. Below the spine of the scapula here is infraspinatus. This small muscle, teres minor, and here is teres major from another point of view. So let's go back to the beginning. We'll look at our deltoid muscle. We'll start with this one. Recall that muscles can be identified by origin, insertion, action, and innervation. For deltoid, for this class, we do not need origin. We can see that it comes down and inserts on the deltoid tuberosity. Its action is it's a powerful AB abductor of the arm, and it's innervated by axillary nerve. If we remove deltoid, we can see our rotator cuff muscles. We see 1, 2, 3, and if we flip this over, 4 rotator cuff muscles. We're going to start with the one that is above the spine of the scapula. This is supraspinatus. Supraspinatus originates on the supraspinous fossa. It inserts on the greater tubercle of the humerus. It initiates AB abduction of the arm, and it's innervated by suprascapular nerve. Recall the other muscle that abducts the arm is deltoid. So supraspinatus initiates the abduction, and deltoid is going to bring it home. Let's go back to our second rotator cuff muscle. This one is below the spine of the scapula. This is infraspinatus. Infraspinatus originates on the infraspinous fossa. It also inserts on the greater tubercle of the humerus. It is a lateral rotator of the arm, and it is also innervated by suprascapular nerve. Down here, we have this little bitty guy. This is teres minor. Teres minor is a rotator cuff muscle. It also inserts on the greater tubercle of the humerus. It is also a lateral rotator of the arm and is innervated by axillary nerve. So you're seeing a little bit of duplication here. Axillary nerve innervates teres minor. It also innervated deltoid. Teres minor is a lateral rotator of the arm. Infraspinatus is also a lateral rotator of the arm. So supraspinatus, infraspinatus, and teres minor are 3 of the rotator cuffs. When we turn this around, we see subscapularis, that is the 4th rotator cuff muscle. Subscapularis originates on the subscapular fossa. It's innervated by 2 nerves, the upper and lower subscapular nerve, and it inserts on the lesser tubercle of the humerus. So subscapularis inserts on the lesser tubercle, whereas our other 3 rotator cuffs muscles inserted on the greater tubercle. We see down here a muscle that is separated. Can you see that separation? This is the posterior side of teres major. We're going to turn this around and look at it from the other point of view. Here it is again, teres major. Teres major is not a rotator cuff muscle. We see the rotator cuff muscles together in a group, and they are separated by the long head of triceps brachii. So this muscle down here, teres major, is not a rotator cuff muscle. Teres major inserts on the intertubercular sulcus of the humerus, along with Latissimus dorsi and pectoralis major. It is a medial rotator of the arm and is innervated only by lower subscapular nerve. While we have this muscle, let's turn this back around. These are not muscles, but I would like to point out these structures. What we're looking at here is the brachial plexus. We'll have a separate video on that. And then we see an artery coming down. This is an interesting artery. This is a continuous artery, and much like mobsters in the witness protection program, it changes names as it changes location. When we start here above the first rib, we're called subclavian. When we're here between the first rib and teres major, we are axillary. When we are down here below below teres major, we are brachial. So it's the same artery with 3 different names in 3 different locations. I mentioned a couple of bony landmarks, and I'd like to point them out on the bone since we're right here. This is our greater tubercle of the humerus here, our lesser tubercle of the humerus here. So we have the insertion of supraspinatus, infraspinatus, teres minor on the greater tubercle, and subscapularis on the lesser tubercle. When we come down here, do you remember I mentioned the intertubercular sulcus of the humerus? This is where we are going to find the insertion of teres major and pectoralis major on either side. In the center is Latissimus dorsi's insertion. We turn this around. You're going to find this roughened area. That's the deltoid tuberosity, and that's going to be for the insertion of the deltoid muscle. That's it. So we're going to do a very quick review. You'll notice this is a different model. Be familiar with all the different models in the class, because sometimes different models will show you different things. This was trapezius. Supraspinatus. Supraspinatus is one of our rotator cuff muscles. Here we have deltoid. We'll pull off deltoid. We're going to see infraspinatus. All of these are different sections of infraspinatus. We're going to treat them as the same muscle. This is teres minor. Remember, teres minor is separated from teres major by the head of triceps brachii, the long head. So this is teres major, this is teres minor. We turn this around. We see again, this is teres major from a different point of view. That makes this latissimus dorsi and this subscapularis. So those are the major muscles of the shoulder and axilla.